And welcome back. So, as you begin to step beyond the offices of the entry where you came through, you push past desks and paperwork scattered about and chairs that got knocked over as the people within the foundry immediately fled outside of it. You step into the main chamber. You can only see it in parts because of these columns of steam that are rising from where you can see the furnaces and bellows are all now just these cooled, low cinders, and ice has gathered around chunks of these structures. And you can see about 5 bodies, all frozen in places. As you kind of glance over and look at the one to your left that's closest to you, you see just the faintest bit of blue light begin to appear about 3 feet above where the frozen body stands. That slowly begins to take the shape of a humanoid form.
What do you do in these situations?
I'm gonna tear up the scarf and start with one, light it on fire and just put it right in front of us and back up.
Okay. You all kind of back away from it with the scarf there. The spirit apparates, and you can see it takes on the humanoid limbs of the frozen body below it. And kind of, you watch its jaw descend and stretch, the vacuous dark eyes like Donald's. It becomes this ghastly, horrifying nightmare being that reaches for the heat and embraces it, and the flames immediately snuff as it does. There's a brief glimmer of nightmarish euphoria on its face, and as you all have backed away, as you can see it kind of look around confused and then slowly pull back and just become this kind of faint glowing blue orb above the body, just resting. Through the steam, some sort of shape, just kind of like a bird, like the shadow of a bird, almost winged, but they're not wings. Just something disappears through the steam, through the mist.
I grab Augie's hand and I keep moving backwards with eyes in that direction, keep moving towards that door, keep moving towards him.
Out of the nearby mist, you almost see it begin to roll and spin like a breeze is blowing through the steam. And as it does, you see a face made of shadow begin to just push through, invisible to the eye if not for the middle of this steam bath that's been created. You see its form for a second, its eyes glowing faint, angry orange. The mouth opens up as it darts towards you, and you instinctually duck out of the way as it and instead it strikes right into your body from behind. You feel your entire form begin to seize up in pain. You take a bleed, my friend. But as you wrestle yourself away from this frozen form, you do manage to force the door just barely open before you stumble and tumble onto the ground. You turning around and seeing this shadow creature kind of turn up and then vanish into the secondary floor, just spectrally disappearing through the solid matter.
All right, I'm gonna take a peek-sies. I'm really good at hiding. I'm just gonna go in there and I'm just gonna look real quick. It's okay.
So as you're sneaking through, the steam still rising around here, you can see the shape. Darting through, occasionally hearing... As it moves through, it looks like it's searching, seeking new sources of heat, and is just kind of avoiding the space where you are. You go near one of the ice bodies and you see that kind of, as you get closer, you can see there's like that faint blue orb that begins to apparate at your proximity, and you just kind of move away and it dissipates, and you begin to pick up the sense that these spirits that are locked in place are drawn to the proximity of heat. As you begin to move through and around, you begin to eventually move past the dying orange glow of the nearest foundry divot, where that thick molten kind of steel and the burning materials are now growing cold, and you head over towards these massive containers with what looks like large, small bricks and briquettes of fresh coal and other burnable materials.
Those are bigger than I thought they'd be.
After the thing has been flying around, you don't notice it moving anymore. And then just out of the floor, right behind Augie, the dark shadow emerges.
And I scream, "Here!" And I light my scarf on fire and I throw it on the floor. "Here!"
You got it. You scream this at the same time that the creature kind of runs its long shadow claws up through Augie's body. You feel like all of your internal organs instantaneously spot freeze within you. You feel all the muscles seize up, and for a brief moment, you remember what it was like once again to have your spirit jettisoned from your body from that detonation. You take a bleed and a body, and I need you to explain to me how you are affected by this bleed corruption.
Okay, so I feel like it tastes a little bit like iron, and it feels like a microcurrent. It's like electricity kind of moving all around, and it hurts. And I think I'm just really scared.
Okay. As that sensation leaves you and you fall to your knees, you cough, and you can see like black liquid just onto the ground, which then spot freezes onto the ground and almost cracks. So as you ignite the scarf and throw it, the scarf lands, and as it hits the ground, it looks like some of the scattered charcoal materials nearby actually catch as well, and it becomes a brief bonfire, about 2 feet wide. It begins to ignite. The creature sweeps into it, and it hits it, and the flame flickers out, but then kind of begins to recatch, resisting the immediate flash of cold that's flushed upon it. You can see crystals emerge around it, and parts of the outside of the briquette kind of freeze over, but the flame emerges and begins to melt it. In this instant, you kind of run and dart around the side, the other two of you kind of running across the way till you all meet up with Augie.
Charlie, Howard, do either of you carry a flask?
Never been a drinking man, it's all right.
Of course I do.
Save that. Next fuel source.
Yes.
And I'm gonna use the bleed detector on the fuel sources and see if I can sense where that stone might be.
As you focus your eyes, even behind your eyelids, extending this, you can feel your gray hand.
The glove is off.
Yeah, it's drawn in a direction, almost like it's pulling you again. And as you kind of let it do so, your hand pushes through this pile of fuel, of coal rocks. And you kind of push past, eyes still closed, until you grab something and pull back. It tumbles out, making noise as you do. And you pull free a cylindrical-like structure about this big, that is made of what looks like smoothed obsidian with caps on the end, but it is intricately carved with all manner of what looks like glyphs or runes or language that you do not recognize. And it's at this moment, as you all are kind of looking at this with surprise, the shadowed hand emerges from the center of your chest from behind. The shadowed claw of this ghostly entity pushing through your sternum. Your eyes go white, and you feel as the bleed begins to strike from within. Your necklace flashes with a bright burst of almost like a localized sunlight. As it does, the hand withdraws, and the creature pulls away and darts away, like almost like it was burned by the proximity of this relic you have.
What do we do with it? How do we open it?
May I?
Don't open it.
I'm gonna take it, and I'd like to look over it for any discerning marks, even that from old fare, anything that I would possibly know.
Looking it over, notice that in the scaffolding above you and to the left of you, two of the bodies that are frozen, you've moved a little bit close to, and the glowing blue orbs of spirits that are beginning to form into their spiritual bodies and slowly drift in your direction. You've drawn the attention of some of these other spirits. By glancing at it, you can see these carvings in here. You don't understand the language at all, but it looks like they are grooves for something to be placed against them. It looks like something is meant to activate it. Something is meant to fill these grooves.
I'm gonna immediately open the flask and pour a little bit of alcohol out and light it and
Back up.
let's get the fuck back out of here.
The two spirits immediately begin to convene towards the alcohol fire that you've left behind.
I'm gonna bite my hand as hard as I can and try to put some blood in those grooves and see if it does anything.
Okay. You go ahead and place your hand onto this device. As you do, it begins to get warmer to the touch. And you watch as the red coloration of your exposed blood begins to seep and fill the grooves along the exterior of this device. You just now, after seeing that, the shadow entity flee for a moment, you can see it's now rising back up in the center of the foundry. And now you get a kind of a closer look of it in the midst of the steam. You can now see it has a humanoid form. Its feet, its legs kind of drift into a long shadow tail, but you can almost see shoulders and a head, like armor you don't recognize. A warrior headdress that is multiple metallic-like quills that almost run off the back of its head. It looks like it is adorned in some sort of ceremonial battle gear that you've never seen before. And its kind of glowing eyes fit within the center of that shadow structure. And you see it kind of rise up from the center. Its jaw extends, its eyes go black, and the shadowed form becomes almost immaterial as it begins to dive through the mist in your direction.
I immediately go like this, and you see, there's like a little bit of wax in my hand, and as I pull forward, you see a hidden jackknife just appear into my hand from my sleeve. I flip it open, I cut my hand open, and I put it on the...
Okay, mark a body.
Yes.
As you wound yourself and place your hand on the opposite side of what you're holding, and Howard, as you're kind of clutching it, you watch as the rest of the blood that's pulled from Charlotte's body begins to seep into the rest of the grooves until each one of them is filled with that deep red coloration. The minute it is, the red begins to brightly glow into a reddish-orange color.
I certainly hope we're correct about this theory.
As you kind of hold it in your hand, the shadowed entity comes streaking towards you angrily, its arms out in front.
Oh, I don't want to do any of this!
As you set it down, it kind of like onto the ground, and the shadow creature kind of swoops up and seems to take in the sight of what you've just set before it. And it spins to go just as the runes glow brightly, and you watch as these red tethers whip out like dozens of tentacles that just wrapping around it before pulling it back into this chunk of ancient obsidian before it just goes quiet.